Yo, what's going on YouTube? Cleveland Sports TV here, and today I'm going to be talking a little bit more NFL talk, and in particular, we're going to talk about the NFL draft, and even more in particular, we're going to talk about Mel Kiper's mock draft that they just came out with. Mel Kiper and Todd McShay kind of did a little duo stint on ESPN where they did a mock draft, but it was kind of like a live mock draft, where they had the timer for each team, and then the alarm went off, and then that team selection, and then they selected a player for that team. It's pretty cool stuff. It was done on ESPN, so I know the video is going to get copyrighted. I'm not really worried about it. I just really want to discuss the picks in the comment section, and what teams did do, or what they had teams do, and what teams should do, so on and so forth. Just kind of a discussion. I'm probably going to do this for every one of Mel Kiper or Todd McShay's mock draft videos that they come out with on ESPN. I believe they do one every few weeks. Just to kind of do a discussion to see how things change. Bring out my inner nerd in me. I love off-season football. I love mock drafts. I love scouting. I love the anticipation up to the draft. I just love it. So yeah, in the comment section below, let's discuss some of the picks and who we thought were the wrong picks, so on and so forth. But yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up, guys. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you guys can see more content, especially my Cleveland people, because we're gonna be doing Cleveland sports of all kinds. We're gonna do Indians, Cavs, Browns. We'll even do Ohio State, and then we're gonna do just major sports, period. But a lot of it is gonna be Cleveland sports in general. But today, NFL mock draft with Todd McShay and Mel Kiper. Pretty happy with who they selected for the Browns. I don't have any gripe with it. Should be a good player. I'm not going to ruin it for you guys. So make sure you guys watch. And yeah, enjoy the video. And until next time, peace.
Well, the order is set for the first 28 picks in the 2019 draft. But to finish out the final four, we used our ESPN Football Power Index for 29 through 32. And yes, that means New England would pick at number 29. I think they may use that as motivation in Foxborough. Welcome into this Sports Center special, Mel Kiper's Mock Draft 1.0. Glad you're with us. Trey Wingo here alongside Todd McShay and Mel Kiper Jr. Mel, this is your first mock. You feeling good about it?
Oh, yeah. Confident as ever.
Yeah, all right. And Todd, I'm just saying, you had to come into the studio for your first mock draft. Mel didn't. Seniority wins a pass here.
Hey, he's a legend, right?
That is true. By the way, the draft will begin April 25th through 27th on ABC and ESPN in Nashville. Let's get to the storylines we expect to be covering dramatically down there. Again, we'll be in the Music City this year, Nashville, Tennessee, for the first time ever, beginning our 3 days of the draft on April 25th. Probably the most intriguing player has to be Oklahoma quarterback Kyler Murray. The Heisman winner declared for the NFL draft earlier this week and is looking to become the first person to be a first-round pick in both the Major League and NFL draft. Let's just say I like his chances. Two teams have multiple picks in the first round. The Raiders have 3 thanks to the Amari Cooper and Khalil Mack trades. The Packers also have an extra first-round pick thanks to a draft day trade with the Saints last year. And this draft should have a heavy defensive theme, as you'll see shortly. 7 of Mel's top 10s in his mock are all on defense. So let's get this puppy started. And with the first pick of the 2019 draft, according to Mel Kiper Jr.'s first mock, Arizona selects Nick Bosa out of Ohio State. He would be the 3rd defensive end in the last 6 drafts, taken number 1 overall. Had 4 sacks in 3 games in 2018 before he got hurt. His 3 games would be the fewest played by a first-round pick since Sam Bradford played 3 games in 2009. So before we start, let me explain our mock clock for Mel and Todd and everyone else following along. We're going to put a timer up there, and that'll give us time to discuss what these picks mean and what we think about them, and then we will move on. So let's put 2 minutes on our mock clock. Bosa at number 1. Mel, no issues with the lack of playing time and the injury?
No, I think the durability going back to his high school senior campaign and then the injury, the core muscle surgery, yes, durability is a concern, but when he's on that field, he's a dominant pass rusher. If you like Joey Bosa with the Chargers, you love Nick Bosa coming out. Pass rushers, feared pass rushers, sack artists like Nick Bosa. Tremendous value in this league right now. There's no question if you're Arizona Cardinals, unless you get blown away by a trade offer, somebody looking to move up to get Dwayne Haskins, you take Nick Bosa number 1.
Todd?
Yeah, and if you look at it, outside of quarterback, in my opinion, the most important thing to have in this league is pass rusher. And Bosa, to me, is the most complete pass rusher in this class. Even the 3 games, he had 6 tackles for loss and 4 sacks in those 3 games played this year. So the production's there. The tape is awesome. You get to watch him, just like his brother, using his hands, leverage, slippery as a pass rusher, instinctive, and a great motor as a finisher. I just think this makes a lot of sense. The only reason you would go in a different direction if you're Arizona and you got a lot of needs is if you get an offer to move out of this spot, one that you can't refuse, that you can get a lot of different players to move back to a team, presumably moving up to go get a quarterback at number 1.
All right, 45 seconds left on the mock clock. Mel, let's start with you here. How does he compare favorably, unfavorably, or similarly to his older brother Joey, who's doing great things for the Chargers?
Similarly, favorably, I think any words that you want to describe to compare Joey with Nick. Remember, John Bosa, the father, first-round pick of the Miami Dolphins. So it runs in the family. This is the first family of defense, like the Mannings with, Archie and Peyton and Eli. Same thing with John, Joey, and now Nick Bosa. These guys know how to get after the quarterback. It obviously runs in the family, and this kid will be, I think, from day one. And they got to say, can he stay healthy? That's the same thing with everybody. Some guys come in, always healthy, and they get hurt. Some guys come in with a little injury concern, and they never get hurt again. That's just the way that the NFL, that's the way football is. But Nick Bosa, when he's 100%, he is a dominant pass rusher.
All right, the chimes mean the mock clock is done, and we move on. So we keep our mock draft Mel Kiper 1.0 moving with selection number 2 in the draft. That's Kentucky outside linebacker Josh Allen going to San Francisco. It seems like they draft this same position every year. And at number 3, it's Alabama defensive tackle Quinnen Williams headed to the Jets. Mel, tell us a little bit about both of these guys.
Well, Josh Allen, you think about coming out of nowhere, he doubled his output from sacks, tackles for loss, forced fumbles with the Kentucky Wildcats. Weighed up to around 250, tall, rangy, athletic kid. The 49ers have drafted defensive linemen like Solomon Thomas, Eric Armstead, DeForest Buckner. Buckner had a great year, but they don't have that edge guy, and that's what Allen would be with the 49ers. Then the Jets, who also need an edge guy, okay? They need that type of player as well, but if he goes 2, then they get Quinnen Williams from Alabama, who had one great year, this one great season, third-year sophomore, dominates from day one, tremendous hand usage, disengages, stacks, sheds, does it all. And I think Quinnen Williams showed this year he is arguably up there with Nick Bosa as one of the elite players in this draft.
Yeah, there's some people that think he's the best player in the draft. And it's amazing to see what he was a year ago. I was watching the tape studying in the summer, Raekwon Davis, Isaiah Buggs, some of those other front 7 guys for Alabama. And occasionally 92 would flash. This year, by the 3rd, 4th game, it was obvious. He was the best player on this defensive front, and I think he developed into the most consistent defensive player in all of college football this year, considering that Bosa was out after the 3 games. And in big games, when they needed him the most, he showed up. LSU, Georgia, and he got the hand injury in the first playoff game, and I think he was a little bit of a different player in the final 3 halves, but outside of that, when he was close to healthy, he was the most dominant interior defensive player in the country.
Guys, if I'm hearing both of you, you're saying these guys flashed in 1 year. Any concerns that there might be not enough there to see a potential long-term career with them just flashing for 1 year here?
For me, not a defensive tackle like Williams. He's a closer thing to Donald than Ed Oliver was. And Ed Oliver coming out of Houston was supposed to be that guy. It was Williams. So what I love, Todd and Trey, high effort, great effort guy, killed double teams. Todd referenced the LSU game. He had 10 tackles, 2.5 sacks in that game against the LSU Tigers. Quinnen Williams in this one season made himself an elite player, and he's deserving of being one of the first players selected.
Yeah, and you got to remember, too, as a 3rd-year sophomore, he redshirted his first year. Second year, he was just kind of learning how to play and rotating in and out of the lineup. And then finally, this was the year where he kind of put it all together. And you just look at the tape, Trey. I mean, this guy, from the quick first step to the power that he has, and then the ability to hold his ground, he's a complete player.
Yeah, and let's be clear, it's hard to play at Alabama on defensive line because they have All-Americans there every year. Okay, the chimes mean we move on to pick number 4, and that is where the Raiders, who have a chance to dominate this first round, get their first selection at number 4, taking the greatest name ever for a corner, LSU's Greedy Williams. Would be the 3rd LSU DB selected in the 3rd round of the last 3 drafts, or first round rather, along with Jamal Adams and Tre'Davious White. Raiders allowed 8.2 yards per attempt in 2018, 31st in the NFL. He has 8 career picks in 2 seasons of play. Mel, tell us why Greedy should be the first DB off the board.
Think about the Raiders, Trey. They like long, athletic corners. You think about John Gruden. He drafted Aqib Talib with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They always reference Aqib Talib as a guy, hey, you got to have that kind of guy, that lockdown corner. Sure, Josh Allen, if he were there, the pass rusher from Kentucky, that's what they need. Khalil Mack's now a Chicago Bear. But if Josh Allen's gone, you go to the corner, who I think John Gruden will see, like Talib, being a guy you can put out there and take that #1 receiver out of the game, or at least neutralize him, contain him. Greedy Williams out of LSU, I think, has a chance to be a top echelon cover man in the NFL.
Todd, you agree?
Yeah, he's the best cover corner, just pure cover corner in this year's class. You can put him out there against anyone, and he's proven it. Whether it's A.J. Brown for Ole Miss, DK Metcalf for Ole Miss. Now, some people will look too late in the season, and I think he lost a little bit of focus as LSU lost a couple of games, and he got picked on and had a couple of plays where you wonder about, was he locating the football? Then he didn't play in the bowl game. He's got a daughter. He doesn't come from money, and he had to protect himself, and he made a decision that you have to agree with in his case. But when you go and look at his body of work in the 2 years that he was a player, 8 interceptions, he was consistently matched up one-on-one on an island against high-level wide receivers. And I just think from the greasy hips to the ability to go up and play the football, the top-end speed, he's pretty much a complete player. He can get a little stronger versus the run, get a little bit physically stronger as well, but he'll develop into his body, and you just can't coach the kind of athleticism and pure cover skills that Greedy Williams brings to the table.
Todd, at about 20 seconds left on the clock, which current LSU, former LSU back that's in the NFL now, DB, does he most relate to?
Oh, I think he's different than all of them. I really do, because you can go like Dante Jackson, who was a tough guy and played kind of in that slot, but he's just a pure outside cover corner that you can put on the perimeter. You can play in the slot, but I think he's at his best working on the outside, taking away that 1/3 of the field.
And let's be clear, I know that was a difficult question because at least 10 former LSU DBs in 2018 played at least one snap.
It's DBU.
It is absolutely DBU. Okay, that's the chime, which means we're moving on. Mel, let's round out the top 5, and it's Jonah Williams, the big lineman out of Alabama. What do you like about him?
Well, first of all, versatility. He's a left tackle, but he can be a right tackle guard. I thought in the Clemson game, again, the national championship game, he held up pretty well. Earl got the best of him one time. But I think overall, you look at consistency, exactly what Tampa Bay needs, either a right tackle or an interior guy. I think Jonah Williams can be like Brandon Sheriff out of Iowa now with the Washington Redskins.
Yeah, Sheriff has done very well for the Redskins, no question about it. Okay, we are just getting warmed up here in our Sports Center special. Mel Kiper's Mock 1.0. Coming up, where does Mel have Dwayne Haskins coming off the board? We'll tell you where and why. Plus, speaking of quarterbacks, he's the spice in this year's draft. Kyler Murray has declared for the draft, so where will he declare to play?
Watch out, he's in the open field, blazing down the far sideline. Lickety split, touchdown.
Sports Center Special, Mel Kiper's NFL Mock Draft, is brought to you.
As we continue our Mel Kiper Sports Center Special Mock Draft 1.0, you see the first 5 picks. We're now to number 6, and it's been quite the rise for Dwayne Haskins, the quarterback from the Buckeyes. Mel, you have him going number 6 overall to the Giants. Welcome back, Mel Kiper, Todd McShay, Trey Wingo here with you. Mel, I'm supposed to ask you what is behind his ascension, but I'm guessing 50 touchdown passes, 4,800 passing yards, and only 8 picks had, something to do with it.
Yeah, not all that passes Dwayne Haskins threw hit the ground, Trey. And I think the improvement, and even dealing with some off games, like the Penn State game. And think about that game, now Todd had referenced it during the year, saying, hey, it didn't look all that great in that game. And even face side pressure bothered them at Happy Valley. They're down 26-14, 7 minutes ago in the game. I think it's all over. Dwayne Haskins and Buckeyes, they're going down to defeat. He rallied them back down 26-14 to win that football game. That was a springboard through the remainder of the year where he was going through progressions. He was climbing the pocket. Third, fourth options. He was seeing the field. Dwayne Haskins has the talent. He's only got 14 starts, but on the ascension throughout the year, the progression throughout the year, and all of the skill set you want, I think Dwayne Haskins deserves to be up there in that stratosphere of round 1.
Plus, Todd, he's got the pro body you're looking for as opposed to another quarterback we may be talking about shortly.
Right, he does fit the prototype, even though I think the prototype is getting smaller and quicker. He's got mobility. Now, he's not a great runner. He's not anywhere close to a Kyler Murray, but he's got mobility inside the pocket, and that's what's most important, the ability to slide, get away from pass rush, extend the play, and then keep his eyes down the field and see the entire field. That's what he does. And what I think he does best is his ability to throw with anticipation. I mean, he has great natural touch and timing as a passer. And to me, that you really start there, the mental makeup and then the accuracy, and he excels in both of those areas. Plus, every scout I talk to loves this guy in terms of his football character and who he is as a person.
20 seconds left. How much is Haskins going to benefit from Justin Herbert staying at Oregon?
I don't think it would have mattered. I think he would have gone ahead of Herbert. Well, I think what's going to be the interesting question is, where's it going to land in terms of the pick? Is it going to be Jacksonville moving up ahead? Are the Giants going to try to move up? How far is a team going to move up to go get him, knowing that there is a gap between Haskins and the next best quarterback?
All right, there are the chimes. Speaking of quarterbacks, as we move on to pick number 7 in Mel Kiper's mock draft 1.0. Mel, you don't have the Jaguars taking a quarterback at 7, instead opting for Oklahoma center Cody Ford. Why no quarterback here, Mel, for Jacksonville?
Well, I think when you look at the quarterback position, if Dwayne Haskins is gone, do you take Kyler Murray? I'm talking about Tom Coughlin, and you think about where the Jaguars were last year. They were a couple plays away from being in the Super Bowl. They had New England beaten. Now they go back to this year, and they have issues. Cam Robinson, left tackle, hurt. Do you go for a Joe Flacco, Nick Foles, Teddy Bridgewater, or do you go for the rookie? I think they may go more veteran, more proven, help the offensive line, get Cam Robinson back, add Cody Ford, who played right tackle, has played guard, can really help solidify that line with the return of Robinson, provided they go out and get a Flacco or a Foles.
Yeah, I understand it, and I know you can't project trades here and all of that, but it wouldn't surprise me at all if the Jaguars went and did both. And by that, I mean the veteran quarterback, but then also move up and go try to get a rookie quarterback in Haskins. To me, that would be the right move. They have struggled long enough at that position, and they have so many other parts. Why not use a little bit of money and then also your draft value to go up and go get this quarterback, even if it means moving up to number 1. You've got to get this position solved, and you don't know what you're going to get with any of those veterans you just mentioned. I mean, one couldn't even keep a starting job in Baltimore, and another's talked about in Foles maybe only playing 1 or 2 more years.
Yeah, again, since Blake Bortles was drafted, he has the trifecta you don't want for your quarterback. The most interceptions, the most pick sixes, and the most total turnovers over that time frame. That's why they may look at quarterback one way or another. All right, let's start with the next 4 picks, 8 through 12. Mel, take us through them, beginning with Devin White, the linebacker from LSU, going to the Lions.
Devin White flies around the field. I think we always talk about today's NFL, Trey and Todd. This guy is perfect for today's NFL. Great range, ball location, speed. He'll run into 4.5s, was a dominant player for LSU. Just a gifted performer, will be a major asset, I think, to the Lions defense that needs some help at that spot. Rashawn Gary, hey, he's not a need pick necessarily, but hey, Kyle Williams retired. I'd like to get offensive help for Josh Allen, but if Rashawn Gary's there, he's only there because he didn't have enough sacks. 9.5 sacks, was the #1 player coming out of high school. He's got talent, needs to become the producer in the NFL, but he wasn't necessarily from a sack standpoint in college. DeAndre Baker to Denver, another potential need area. Kid who has, I think, the long arms you want in a shutdown corner, press corner. Great savvy, great anticipation and awareness in coverage for a Bronco team that has always been defensively stout. That will help this team immensely. A corner coming in like DeAndre Baker. Cincinnati Bengals got to keep Andy Dalton upright. This offensive line, Andrew Whitworth moved on. It hasn't really been the same. Juwan Taylor's a right tackle. Had his moments where he looked like an early first-round pick, other moments where he looked like a second-round pick. If he gets more consistency to his game, Juwan Taylor at Florida this year showed he can be a very good, maybe even a Pro Bowl caliber right tackle. Green Bay Packers, at this point, a pass rusher like Furl out of Clemson. What this kid is a guy that this year, motivated, focused kid. Yeah, you think about this defensive line. He went back to win a national title. They accomplished that goal. Furl gives the Packers the pass rusher off the edge that they need, and I think at this point you'd say he'd be a value type of choice.
So here's where we stand, picks 1 through 12. What a difference a year makes. Last year we had 4 quarterbacks in the top 10 for the first time ever. This year, according to Mel's first mock, there is only 1 going in the top 10. Speaking of
Get Kiper some
quarterbacks,
water.
we will. We'll get him some water. You might recognize this guy who may be carrying the water for a lot of teams. Mel will tell you why he has Heisman winner Kyler Murray going to the Dolphins. That was our way of trying to show you through pictures. Kyler Murray's last 12 months have been a lot better than yours. 9th overall pick in the Major League Draft by the A's, $4 point something million from them, and now Mel Kiper Jr., with him declaring for the draft, has him going to the Miami Dolphins with the 13th overall pick. But before Mel and Todd tell us how they feel about Oklahoma quarterback Kyler Murray, hey, Alabama's Quentin Williams, how do you feel about him?
Now I don't feel like I have going against a quarterback slightly resembling Kyler Murray, but I feel like Kyler Murray is not worried about.
What's that?
No, I'm good.
Every time I see that, all I can think of, there's a thought bubble next to Quentin Williams' head that's saying Nick Saban would not appreciate this. So we'll try and do what Quentin Williams didn't want to do, right? Talk about Kyler Murray. Mel, let's start with you. What do you think his ceiling is at his size in the NFL?
Well, you just mentioned it, the size. You have to adapt to the times. You can't live in the past. And I think if you look at Kyler Murray in 1995, you'd say third round, maybe as a slot receiver. Now he's a quarterback. And the stature, the physical stature is lacking. We always say small, okay, short. What are they? Short but not small. He's short and small. He's about 195 pounds. Russell Wilson was 210. Baker Mayfield was 220. With all that said, he has everything else you want in an elite quarterback. Passing skills superior, arm strength through the roof, lightning quick, lightning fast, great competitor, football IQ. He's got everything. If he were 3 inches taller, he'd be locked in to be the #1 pick overall by miles.
Okay, so Todd, you didn't have him in your mock because he hadn't declared yet. So if you had to put him in a mock for you, where would he go for you?
He would go in the first round. Now, you talk to guys in the league, and a lot of people think it's going to be later in the first round, but it's early in the process. I think one thing we have to figure out for sure is he committed to football. Is this a case where he's trying to use it as leverage to get more money out of the Oakland A's? Or is it the case where if things don't go well in the first year or two, you're going to lose out on a first-round pick because he's going to go play baseball? So you've got to try to dig deep if you're an NFL team. But to Mel's point, the game has changed. And we're not looking for necessarily 6'4", 6'5", 230, 240-pound quarterbacks anymore. The game is quicker. It's about quick twitch athletes, guys who can get outside the pocket, guys that can run a little bit more, and guys that can find passing windows within the pocket. You look at the stats, and I'll stat you to death for a second here. The past 10 years, we've seen quarterback rushing numbers double. In the past 10 years, we've seen quarterbacks who are 6 foot and shorter actually have fewer balls batted down the line of scrimmage than guys who are 6'1" and taller. And then you go back this past season, we've had more throws out from outside the pocket than any other year since 2009 when ESPN Stats and Info began putting together that statistic. So the game is changing, the statistics back it up, and he's as electrifying a quarterback as we've seen come out of college, in my opinion, since Michael Vick.
Yeah, you have to think he's going to be benefited draft-wise from what we've seen from Russell Wilson, who was taken in the 3rd round. Shorter stature proves he can play. And Baker Mayfield just last year, #1 overall pick. Again, a little taller than Kyler, but just broke Peyton Manning's record for the most touchdown passes by a quarterback in his rookie year. Oh, the chimes have come again. So that means we have to move on to 14th overall selection in the 1st round. And that means Ed Oliver is going to the Atlanta Falcons. Boy, Dan Quinn's going to love this kid. 2017 Outland Trophy winner, 2-time All-American. 54 tackle for losses in his career, would be the highest drafted player from Houston since DJ Hayden in 2013 when he went 12th overall to the Raiders. Now, Mel, this is interesting. At the end of last year's draft, a lot of people, including yourself, looking at Ed Oliver as the 1st overall pick. What happened?
Well, first of all, we talked about Kyler Murray. I think the most fascinating, intriguing player in the history of the draft. Ed Oliver, one of the more fascinating, intriguing players in this draft as well, because of the fact he showed he could be the #1, #2 overall pick going into this year. He didn't have the sack production to warrant being rated that high, and he was 273, not 285. And I think that's the difference. Can he get his weight up and maintain that weight and finish and get sacks, not just tackles for loss? People say, well, he played at Houston, he should have it. Well, he was still double, triple team. He was the marked man, and he was disruptive. But can he be a complete defensive tackle who can get sacks like Aaron Donald does? Those Aaron Donald comparisons were exaggerated. Now he's more of a mid-1 than an early one. But Ed Oliver, I think, was going to be very interesting to see what kind of pro he becomes. Somebody will take him in the mid-1st round if he's still available.
Todd, we talked a lot about his weight this year at Houston, right? He played at about 275. And I get it, Aaron Donald plays at 290, 295. But Aaron Donald is Aaron freaking Donald. How much is the weight going to be an issue here for Ed Oliver?
Well, weight, to me, just becomes a scheme fit issue. So if you're a team that is asking your defensive tackles to take up space, then you're not going to be excited about Ed Oliver. There's only a certain amount of teams that he's going to fit for. I don't think you want to move him outside and play him in space. I think you want to use him as a 3 technique in that undersized role like Donald does play. But to Mel's point, listen, it wasn't the major Applewhite jacket gate situation that has caused any kind of problems. No one really has an issue with that. We all understand that college players, when the season's starting to wind down, they might take some time off. They might not play in the bowl game, and that's what happened. And I think that was just mounting frustration from Applewhite and the coaching staff. But when you look at Oliver, and I went back and studied the Aaron Donald tape at Pitt, and the thing that's different between these two defensive tackles is that Donald always was a finisher. His sack production from a statistic standpoint was there, but just watching on the tape, he was so much more consistent getting through blocks, finishing, and making plays in the passing game, whereas Ed Oliver is great in terms of disruption versus the run game, but just not a great finisher as a pass rusher, and he's going to have to improve his hands in the NFL.
All right, the chimes mean we got to move on, so let's get you through everything we've seen so far. Here are picks 1 through 20 on our big board. Mel, give us a quick thumbnail sketch, if you would, on picks 15 through 19, starting with the Redskins.
Well, he's talking about pass rushers. We talked about how heavy this defensive draft was with 20 defensive players in that mock first round. Ja'Kai Polite to the Redskins. They need somebody opposite Ryan Kerrigan to help him out and get that sack production. I think he can do it. Same theme here with the Carolina Panthers with Brian Burns coming out of Florida State, one of the most athletically gifted outside linebacker / defensive ends to come out in recent years. And the Cleveland Browns, think about John Dorsey, the GM. He drafted Chris Jones out of Mississippi State. Now you get Jeffrey Simmons. That's a neat area for them. Got Garrett coming from the outside. Now Jeffrey Simmons collapsing things inside. Greg Little, we talked about that Minnesota offensive line needing help. Greg Little out of Ole Miss, highly regarded, coming out of high school, a little inconsistent, but has a ton of talent. And then Tennessee, you think, well, this is a luxury pick. They have Delaney Walker off the injury, but he's getting up there in age. I think T.J. Hockenson will give them a big-time threat at tight end, blocker, receiver. Think about Rob Gronkowski. He's not Gronkowski, but he's close enough for me to put him in the first round to the Tennessee Titans.
And then you have Devin Bush there at number 20, the inside linebacker going to the Steelers. Clearly, they need some help there. What are we getting here when we look at Devin Bush, Mel?
A complete player for today's NFL. He made the calls. He was the quarterback of this defense. He's a great kid. Father was a first-round pick coming out of Florida State. Think about with Devin Bush. We talked about it with Devin White, the two Devins. Fly to the ball, great range, sideline to sideline speed. Devin Bush for the Steelers. He just looks like a Steeler. He does everything a Steeler wants. Committed, focused to the game of football, loves the game of football, passionate and productive and consistent and reliable. To me, if he's there, he's one of the better picks of round one.
Todd, you agree?
I do. And I think he's a perfect fit, just like we talked about with Devin White. Today's NFL, if you're playing off the line, think about Luke Kuechly. Roquan Smith we saw last year as a first-round pick. You've got to be a guy that can play sideline to sideline. You got to be able to cover and then occasionally be able to blitz and make an impact as a pass rusher. He does all three things at a high level. He's got the instincts, the motor, the leadership, and the consistency you saw throughout his career. I think he's going to be a really special player at the next level. And he's a plug-and-play starter coming out of that Don Brown Michigan defense.
Yeah, and he's also got the DNA. Mel alluded to it. His dad, Devin Bush Sr., was a 1995 first-round pick. Went to the Atlanta Falcons. And, of course, the Steelers, look, they tied for the league lead with 52 sacks, but they've really lacked a dynamic playmaker on the inside linebacker position since, unfortunately, Ryan Shazier went down with that injury in the 2017 season. They will hopefully see a way for Devin Bush to get that going. The chimes mean we got to move on, people. We can't dawdle when we're talking about the draft. John Gruden's year in Oakland, not great. Can he turn the tide with 3 first-round picks? We'll find out.
It's hard to find a great one. Hopefully we prove that in the long term we did the right thing.
Our SportsCenter special, Mel Kiper Jr.'s Mock Draft 1.0 rolls on. Glad you're with us. Here's a look at where we stand. We've talked about the first 20 picks in the first round, according to Mel. Mel, let's start with 21 Seattle and one of the most interesting names and players in the draft.
He's no question. He's one of the most interesting. Is O'Shane Ximines, a kid of Old Dominion, first Old Dominion player ever drafted, let alone the first round. I think when you look at this kid, pass rusher, 32 tackles for loss, 20 sacks, 8 forced fumbles. He keyed the upset win over Virginia Tech. John Schneider, GM Pete Carroll want pass rushers. He will give them exactly that. O'Shane Jimenez to the Seattle Seahawks at 21. And the Ravens need wide receiver help, a young wide receiver coming in to help out Lamar Jackson. A.J. Brown, quietly a solid year for Ole Miss, a little bit under the radar because Ole Miss wasn't talked about that much. A.J. Brown could be like Jarvis Landry, productive, reliable, consistent year in and year out. Would be a nice pick for the Ravens at that point. Marquise Brown, Oklahoma, would still be on the board possibly at that point as well. The Houston Texans, you think about coverage on the back end, they were torched in some games. And you think about, a guy like A.J. Brown going to the Ravens, well, you need cover guys in this league. You need multiple cover guys. And Byron Murphy, great ball skills. When an interception comes his way, he will make the catch. He will get the turnover. Byron Murphy would be a really nice addition to that secondary with the Houston Texans.
Okay, so now we go through 27 picks, and you can see them on the board. And Mel, tell us quickly about picks 23 through 27. 2 more picks for the Raiders.
Yeah, I think when you look at the Raiders, Marquise Brown, Hollywood Brown, Cliff Branch type. He's a game changer, making big plays down the field. And I think when he gets the ball in his hands, he can create a lot of yards after the catch. And I think that's what Derek Carr needs. Get away from thinking and dunking, get it down the field. Montez Sweat, a pass rusher for a team that could lose a couple, the Philadelphia Eagles. Dexter Lawrence, a guy that can be a run stopper and get you some disruption in the backfield. And then Irv Smith, another Raider pick. Think about the Raiders with Dave Casper, with Raymond Chester. Another weapon for Derek Carr would be Irv Smith Jr. Also great bloodlines as well.
Okay, so that, of course, will conclude the Raiders portion of the first round, and it was a lengthy portion. They had 3 first-round picks. They're hoping these 3 first-round picks will make 2019 better for them because, let's be honest, 2018...
Raider Nation, this is a big effing deal. Please welcome the head coach of the Oakland Raiders, Mr. John Gruden.
I have a lot to prove. There's no question. I have not coached since 2008. No guarantees, no promises, but I want to win. How long I stay here will be determined by how well we play.
Khalil Mack is on his way to Chicago.
Obviously, Khalil Mack didn't want to play here. He never showed up. He was under contract.
Picked off, Marcus Peters.
3 interceptions thrown by Carr tonight. It sucked. He wasn't good enough, and you put it all on me.
Amari Cooper traded from Oakland to Dallas for a first-round pick.
Doing everything we can for the Raiders, for the team today and the team of the future. Sometimes it's a tough job.
Reggie McKenzie is the first GM of this season to be let go. This is Gruden's ship, and he gets to steer it.
And they hope it'll steer a little better toward the win column in 2019. So, Mel, let's go through this. In your mock, you have them taking Greedy Williams at 3, wideout Marquise Hollywood Brown at 24, and tight end Irv Smith at 27. I have to ask, the Raiders finished dead stinking last in the NFL with 13 sacks. That was so low, the next lowest total was 30. Yet you don't have them taking a pass rusher in a pass rush defensive tackle deep draft.
Yeah, Josh Allen was gone when they picked Greedy Williams, Trey, and O'Shane Ximines I had going to the Seattle Seahawks. So if O'Shane Ximines from Old Dominion's there, hey, I'd take him from the Raiders. That could be the guy. Think about Old Dominion, the Buffalo Bulls with Khalil Mack, not the major power, but a guy who can get after the quarterback. So that would be a guy to target, maybe move up and get him, Trey. If you want that guy, I can't project trades, but you get the corner and you're in a division, you got to beat Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. You got to be able to cover on the back end. I think Greedy Williams would help there, and you got to get weapons for Derek Carr, and Hollywood Brown and Irv Smith Jr. would do that, but I'm with you. Hey, I almost tried to push O'Shane Ximines down to the Raiders, couldn't do it. But if you want him, you might have to move up a bit.
Todd, what do you think of these picks for the Raiders?
I think the first thing that stood out was no pass rusher, but you also have to look at where they went. And I haven't memorized Kiper's mock draft yet, but I did see there was a run of Ja'Kai Polite after Cleveland Ferrell, and also Brian Burns from Florida State. It was kind of a big run on these defensive ends, outside linebacker, edge rush types right before they got on the board at 24. So at that point, to get the fastest player in college football, Marquise Brown, would make sense. If they're going to stick with Derek Carr moving forward, they've got to protect better, and they've got to get weapons, guys that can create. And that's what Brown does, both vertically and after the catch. And Carr likes to get the ball out quickly. There's no mistaking that. And I think getting a wide receiver who could get off the line quickly, take a 3-yard, quick out route or a slant, and take it 30, 40 yards. That's the type of playmaker they need. And then Irv Smith, you look at the teams in the playoffs this year. How many great tight ends have we seen? And Smith is a very good pass catcher, but he also has proven, especially late in the season, that he's willing to block and showed a lot of toughness. So to get two matchup guys like that, speed and then athleticism in the middle of the field where you can move them in the slot and sometimes use them in line as a blocker, I think it would make them a much better offense, a much more dangerous offense, certainly.
It is interesting because John Gruden almost trolled himself this entire season after letting Khalil Mack go. Keep saying, hey, pass rushers are hard to find. He did help 3 playoff teams, though. Khalil Mack, Bears, playoffs. Amari Cooper, Cowboys, playoffs. And then December 11th, they let C.J. Anderson go, and all he's done is rush for 100 yards and score touchdowns in every game he's had with the Rams. The Raiders helping other teams into the postseason. When we come back, many Patriot backups have come and gone during Tom Brady's reign in New England, but could the next QB drafted at Foxborough really be the one that sticks around?
Why is Mel disagreeing? He's 6'2". He's 248 pounds.
Hot, 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 hot.
Who the heck is Mel Kiper Jr.? Mel Kiper who?
Great hands and even great greatness. Not to mention tremendous tremendousness.
Hot, 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 hot.
An amazing amount of amazingness. I haven't slept more than 17 seconds any given time preparing for the draft. I've said enough already.
This is impossible.
Apparently not.
I laugh every time. I don't care what you think. As we continue on Mel's mock draft 1.0, here we are with 29 picks revealed. Mel, you see 28 there, defensive tackle Christian Wilkins out of Clemson going to the Chargers. We all know he did the splits as a 300-pounder after Clemson's first national championship a few years ago under Dabo Swinney. What more can you tell us about him?
We saw the Chargers pushed around by the Patriots in that divisional playoff game at Foxborough, a little soft in the belly. You think about what Christian Wilkins would bring in terms of versatility and professionalism. Great character kid, worked hard to become a really consistent, solid player. I think that's what the Chargers were lacking, especially in that game you saw against the Patriots. I think he would be a nice help. The guy that I'm excited about, I think when you look at this point in the draft, though, is Daniel Jones, quarterback Duke for the New England Patriots. Tom Brady can't play forever. He's going to be 42 when the season begins next year, Trey. And now, 5 years ago, he took Jimmy Garoppolo in the second round. Now it's time to go back and find maybe the heir apparent to Tom Brady. And in this case, it could be Daniel Jones from Duke.
Well, if they do that, it would be the first quarterback drafted by the Patriots in the first round since Drew Bledsoe in 1993. What do we think of Daniel Jones here? I mean, look, obviously, it's pretty clear that Belichick wanted to keep Jimmy Garoppolo around, and obviously that didn't work out. So what do we like most about Daniel Jones?
Well, you like being 6'4.5", 6'5", 220, number one. Compact release, completed over 60% of his passes, and had some balls dropped by those Duke receivers this year. Rushed for 186 yards in one game against North Carolina. Very athletic kid, basketball player in high school, a family of really good athletes. Then you think about the improvement he showed in terms of decision-making and accuracy. Think about David Cutcliffe, sent 6 quarterbacks to the NFL, led by Peyton and Eli Manning. There's a lot to like about Daniel Jones. Yeah, he's going to keep getting better, and if he does, he can be a factor. Like I say, Tom Brady will be 42 years of age when this next season begins. It's time to start thinking about the replacement, the heir apparent. The next guy is going to be a starting quarterback after Tom Brady retires and goes down as one of the greatest, if not greatest, quarterback of all time.
Todd?
Philosophically, I completely understand it. I think Daniel Jones is rated a little high here by Mel. We have a few months to get into all the specifics, including the fact that I don't think he has a compact delivery. And yes, he's a really good runner, but he's not very twitchy inside the pocket. But to the point, it has been 5 years, as Mel said, since they drafted Jimmy Garoppolo. They need to draft one. I just think in the second day with guys like Drew Lock, etc., that there's a lot of depth in this quarterback class for guys that could go in that second, third round range.
Mel, I think the mistake you're making here is you're assuming Tom Brady will eventually retire. We all know he's going to live forever and play quarterback forever. That's just science. Well, when we come back here, ladies and gentlemen, he's not available, but if he were, how high would Trevor Lawrence go in this draft?
Sports Center Special, Mel Kiper's NFL Mock Draft, is brought to you by Tostitos, for every kind of fan.
ESPN Plus is a must for UFC fans. It is home to exclusive live events, original content, and a library of top UFC fights for only $4.99 a month. Simply download the ESPN app and tap on the ESPN Plus tab to start your 7-day free trial. The streaming service is also available on your computer at ESPN.com and via the ESPN app on TV-connected devices. Get ESPN Plus today by downloading the ESPN app or visiting ESPN.com.
All right, time to put a bow on this puppy. Welcome back to our Sports Center special, Mel Kiper's Mock Draft 1.0. Mel Kiper, Todd McShay, Trey Wingo here with you. Mel, take us home for the final 3 picks, 30 through 32.
Trey Draymond Jones, defensive tackle at Ohio State, would fortify the defensive front for the Los Angeles Rams. The Deontay Thompson pick to the Chiefs, a neat area. Thompson needed to produce more big plays, didn't. That's why instead of a mid-first, he's a late first. And Paris Campbell was a go-to option for Dwayne Haskins. I think he could even go a little higher if he runs the 40 I expect at the Combine.
All right, so there you have it. And now the impossible question. What if I told you that Trevor Lawrence, who's not eligible for this draft, was eligible for this draft, the Clemson quarterback? Yeah. Mel, let's start with you. How high would he go in this year's draft?
It could go higher than number 1, and he would be number 1 by a wide margin. He would be the franchise guy everybody would want to go get.
Not even close? No debate?
Not even close.
Todd, do you agree with that?
I actually do. And it's tough to say after one season, but I think we've seen enough. And to come out in that national championship game, that stage, and miss on your first 3 throws, and it looked like he was pressing and just wasn't comfortable, and to rebound the way he did against that Alabama Nick Saban coach defense was as impressive as it gets. Listen, you would have multiple teams from the Giants to Jacksonville, maybe Miami sitting at 13, all trying to put together packages to move up, and Arizona would be swimming in picks. I think this guy could have the highest grade coming out of college since going back to Andrew Luck.
Wow, and it is amazing because last year at this time we were talking about if only Tua Tagovailoa, the freshman, were available, and now he would be taken behind Trevor Lawrence. Guys, it's been fun. We appreciate it. Mel, great job. And hey, Todd, sharpen the abacus because your next mock comes out next month. Thanks for watching. We'll see you down the road.